What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. You guys already know the vibes. The NBA season is a wrap. Boston Celtics hanging up their 18th banner as they take down the Dallas Mavericks 4-1. My prediction was wrong. Danny's prediction was wrong. We're going to talk about everything that happened in the NBA Finals, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about what might happen soon and very soon in NBA free agency. I don't think too many people care about the NBA draft. That's unfortunate.
No, it is unfortunate. But free agency starts now for some people, for some groups and some people. So extensions, that 5-year, $315 million, which is unbelievably crazy for Tatum. He's eligible for like things like that. Him and Luka, the deals that they can be done now. Pascal can get his deal done with Indiana. Like certain people get their extension deals done at this point now.
I believe Tyrese Maxey can get his deal done now, but you mentioned the guy, and we'll start there. Jason Tatum. He's going to sign a $315 million contract and now certified as an NBA champion. But Danny, I find it so funny. There is, when he talked to the media after winning the game, he said, I had to deal with all y'all shit, all y'all talking about me. He said, what are they going to say now? And the internet still said a lot. Even after he won the NBA title, even after he led the Boston Celtics in this series and throughout the entirety of the playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists, the internet still found a way to make fun of Jason Tatum. First of all, congratulations. The internet has let us know that LMA is now pregnant. We all assume Jason Tatum's child. So yeah, congratulations to him. With that being said, the internet found a way to make fun of him when he was interviewed after the game. He said, "We did it, we did it."
Bro, they just find a way to pick on a guy. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Yeah. He's looking for iconic moments. Oh, he's enjoying. He's in the moment. He's living it with his mom, his kid, his people. Let him enjoy his moment. So. Everybody celebrates differently. You can't because somebody else did it before him doesn't mean that he's not allowed to do it now. And he's saying he's looking for iconic moments. But yes, first and foremost, congratulations to the Boston Celtics. Congratulations to Xavier Tillman, former team of mine, Jaden Springer. These young guys walked in. I think Lamar Stevens might get one too. He was a part of the Boston group early on after the deadline. So I don't know how they choose. You know how Toronto was. The guys were supposed to get rings, but they chose not to give. So you never know how that goes.
I still can't believe they didn't give a ring to Jonas Valanciunas, dog. That's crazy to me.
But there's a couple other guys there. CJ Miles was there.
What was the harm in not giving him a ring?
Well, you had to give it to all of them. So it wasn't if you give it to him, you have to give it to all of them. CJ. I feel like we had a couple other guys that had left, and that DeLon Wright was there. You know what I'm saying? Like we had a couple guys that left. They would have had to give rings to, which I said I'm all for everybody getting one. But congratulations to those guys.
Just a ring.
My guy X, I know he's been through a lot, lost his pops, but to be able to celebrate. Jaden Springer left from Philly. I know Joe Mazzulla in the past, but they deserve it. Congratulations, Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP, which well-deserved. I think Eastern Conference MVP and Finals MVP. But to me, we had our debate beforehand. I think it was a toss-up, but I have not seen a guy where we know it's his team and he leads the team in points, rebounds, assists, not get the Finals MVP. But I think you couldn't go wrong. So I'm happy for Jaylen Brown, but I thought Jason Tatum for sure should have gotten it. But they're always going to say something. And what they're going to say is, you won, but you didn't win Finals MVP. You didn't lead your team. And they're saying you're doing corny, iconic moments to try to, to make a commercial. You know what I'm saying? They're on them about little dumb stuff. The internet's going to find something. So it's silly.
Yeah.
But, happy for him. I said it didn't matter about who won the Finals MVP, win the championship. But there's been a bunch of times in history where there's issues of like why, Iggy over Steph, like certain things. It was like, why did this person get chosen Finals MVP? But to me, it's at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You won one. You're still going down as the best team that year, and you're the man on that team. So people are going to remember that always.
Yeah, and rightfully so. They handled the Dallas Mavericks, and I feel like a fool for not picking the Boston Celtics to win. They're just too stacked, and we learned that right after game
even
one.
Without Porzingis, though. But we all thought Porzingis' health. He played the first two games, but he even got hurt, and they still won games without him. Ultimately, Dallas had a hell of a year, but it showed why they were a 5 seed. You know what I'm saying? Like they got there, and they just were, I think, mentally fatigued. Kai just couldn't be himself in Boston. I don't know what was going on. It's just tough for him to find his rhythm there. And when you don't have those two guys leading the way scoring-wise, it's hard to win games. And the other guys, I think mentally, emotionally, and physically fatigued, weren't making the shots that they were making in the same series. But that was Dallas. That all year they've been kind of up and down, back and forth. They just had a hell of a series against Denver. No, not even Minnesota, to where they were consistently busting ass for like 4 straight, 3 straight games. They played unbelievable, which was not something we've seen from them all year. But congratulations to them as well. Successful season. They made it work, Kyrie and Luka. And all they do is add some pieces, and I think that they can be back to where they said it's all about matchups and timing. And they're considered a team that's fighting for contention.
Well, that's the thing, Danny. And as we look at this NBA now, I believe that is now the 5th or 6th straight champion that we've had since the Warriors did their back-to-back or their back-to-back run. So it was your team in 2019 Raptors, 2020 it was your team, the Lakers. Then it was the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe. And then it was
Denver,
and then now we have the Boston Celtics. So 5 straight champions in this NBA. And Danny, I would actually say this team might have the best chance of repeating out of the new 5 champions that we have seen over the past 5 years. Obviously, with the Raptors, when Kawhi left, it changed the scope of things. Milwaukee, I thought they had a chance to repeat, but they had injury issues going into the next season. Your Lakers team, they changed and there were injuries. I think this Boston, and then Denver had a great chance to repeat, but then they're just in the Western Conference, and we saw this year just how difficult the Western Conference is. As it's currently constructed, there's still no relative competition for the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference. Yes, we could have said, what if Philadelphia was healthy? And obviously they have some space.
They still don't have the pieces yet. But we'll see this summer. We'll see what pieces they have. Milwaukee still don't have the pieces, and Doc is still trying to find his rhythm over there. We don't know what they're going to look like. So those groups have a lot of free agents and a lot of space for free agency. We don't know what pieces are going to pick up. But as it stands, they didn't have the pieces to match up with Boston. So, yes, there is no match for them right now. Knicks is healthy.
I don't want to sound like a homer,
your beloved Knicks.
I'm keeping it real. The Knicks, when healthy, probably would have given the Boston Celtics the best shot of it this past postseason, but obviously the Knicks just weren't healthy, and obviously you don't know what's going to happen with the Knicks going forward. There are some big decisions that they're going to have to make with the number of players on that roster. Isaiah Hartenstein, are they going to keep Julius Randle for his last year of his deal? Bojan Bogdanovic has a guarantee date on his contract, and OG Anunoby, as great as he is, injuries are a concern with him because he's had an injury riddled career so far, but yet he's still going to demand high dollars. So we don't know what the Knicks are going to look like per se. With that being said, Danny, it wasn't too long ago, 2-3 years ago, that people were saying you need to break up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They don't mesh. Turns out they do mesh. You just have to have the proper roster around them, and that's what Brad Stevens did.
Big shout out to Brad Stevens and Drew Holiday for winning the championship.
Right,
another team right after being traded. I'm sure Milwaukee's a little bit like, damn, we probably shouldn't have done that. But shout out to them. They made the right moves. Porzingis, Drew Holiday, put the right pieces around them. You know what I'm saying? I said find them. And I saw something where Jalen Rose had a take. He said it a couple years ago, and he said, "Yo, you don't break them up. You find a point guard or a guard that can facilitate and make them balance out." I think Derek White and Drew Holiday are those guys. Shout out to Derek White, another former teammate of mine. Congratulations to all those guys, man. Paulie Red, former trainer of mine. He's there in Boston. They have a lot of good guys over there that I'm happy for.
Yeah, and honestly, too, I thought the parallels, the comparison I had with the Boston Celtics, the same way I felt about the Los Angeles Clippers. You have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. It might not work, but it could if you have a true point guard. And I thought having James Harden this year could help him. But then Kawhi, unfortunately, again, not around for the playoffs. And even still, Danny, I think what makes this Boston team obviously better than the Clippers, even if the Clippers were healthy, it's not just they have 2 premier 3-and-D superstars in Tatum and Brown, but they have not just really good role players, but those role players hit threes.
Yeah.
I go back to your two.
Hauser, Horford, Porzingis, Clippers they have Norm coming off the bench who's strong. Russ off the bench gives you energy, but he's more of a playmaker. They do need more shooting. They don't have the rim protection like that. Zubek is really good. I like him, but they don't have the same rim protection or like at the big position. Plumlee was good. They have some decent bigs, Tice, but they do need more 3-point shooting. And finally, finding the right pieces around those three guys. And I think Ty Lue is the coach for it. They can stagger the minutes. He knows how to figure it out. But it's interesting to see what they're going to do. Who they're going to bring back, at what cost, who they're going to bring in. The second apron, a lot of things are going to change.
Yeah. I would say, Danny, and I'm not saying they copied you, copied your team, but I honestly feel like your 2019 Toronto Raptors team was the perfect way to construct a team that's not a super team, because literally you had 8 to 9 guys that can all hit the three and all play defense. And that's essentially what the Celtics had. They only just have 6 of those guys, really. But obviously they're those guys
Pritchard are coming up big shots, end of the half, end of quarters, unbelievable. Hauser hitting some shots. But yes, we did have a lot of guys, and guys that didn't even play. See, OG Anunoby didn't even play for us. But we had Kalo, Pascal, Norm, Fred, myself, Kawhi, Serge, Marc Gasol. Yeah, like we had a deep crew. And then said OG, if he would have played, who knows would have. But we had a good crew of guys that could play defense two-way and knock down shots, where Kawhi can kind of have space. Pascal can move, like he was still out, his coming out party, but he had space to work and get his spin moves and get to the basket. Like those guys could work. And then Kalo obviously was best Raptor ever, can come off his screens, get to his left hand, get that three-pointer rolling and making plays, taking charges. We had guys, scrapping on defense. So we made it work.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that's the way to construct a roster. The less you have to mix and match, and like, I need offense, I got to put him in. Oh, but now I'm losing defense, I got to put him in. But we need a big man who can protect the rim, but we need a big man that can space the floor. Like, the more you can get two-way players who can contribute on both sides of the floor and stretch the floor, it really does make life easy. And that is what the Boston Celtics have. Not just this year, Danny, but obviously with Jaylen Brown already signed up for a long time. Jason Tatum's about to get the bag. Drew Holiday already signed his extension. All signs are pointing towards Derek White getting his extension. It looks like this thing can go on for a long time. The only hiccup they're going to have, because they're going to be well into the second apron, is they can't improve. They have to hope for help, because they're not going to be able to get anybody of any consequence in free agency or via trades. This is their roster, point blank, period.
It's a good roster, though.
But if you're going to be stuck with the roster, this is the roster you want to be stuck with.
Fill the spaces with some vet minimum guys that can, give you a little something off the bench, maybe some shooters that you can find for a vet minimum. But outside of that, you don't need anything else. They're fine. Yeah.
As long as they come back next year with the same motivation, and maybe Jason Tatum still getting hated on.
A little chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, a little chip on the. It's crazy to win a championship and still have a chip on your shoulder, but I think Jason Tatum might actually have that.
Still has to prove something to the internet like crazy.
Yeah, it is absolutely nuts. Before I want to talk about their celebration or how they're going about their celebration, the Boston Celtics. But I'm throwing this on you now.
Yeah.
All right. We talked about the last 5 teams to win a title. Go ahead, Danny. Rank them 1 to 5.
Ooh. So between Golden State, Denver, Boston.
No, we're not. We'll stop. We'll stop with your Raptors. We'll start with your Raptors team, and we'll end with the Boston Celtics.
And I'm rating them 1 through 5 of who was the best team to win, and like who was legit.
Yeah.
Even ours. I mean, people say because we played an injured Golden State Warriors team, they're
I'm not evaluating who you beat. I'm evaluating the team in itself.
I'm going to go with the depth, right? I'm going to go by depth of who had more of the what's name. I'm going to go with our Raptors team, probably top dog. I'm going to go with probably this Boston team right behind it, honestly. Then I'll go with Denver. I feel like Denver was like 7 deep. Actually, Denver might have been they might have been deeper than Boston. Boston said 6.
Oh, they were, yeah. They
had Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. You said they might have been deeper than Boston, so I might have to put Denver at
They had
2.
more, and they did. I mean, Jamal Murray is a star-level player.
Bro, what?
Yeah, Jamal Murray is.
Jeff Green and Bruce Brown off the bench was killing. So, like, Denver number 2, Boston number 3, Golden State 4, Milwaukee 5.
No. We're not including Golden State, and you got to put in your Lakers. It goes Raptors, Lakers, Bucks, Nuggets, Celtics. Those are the 5.
Golden State won in 2022, though. Or am I tripping?
Oh, yeah.
What you mean?
I forgot about that one. I guess we got to include them. We have to include that.
We have to.
Fine. Yeah,
so we got six. We have 6 teams.
We got 6. Yeah, so six new champions. My bad. 6 new champions.
With the depth, I wasn't excluded, but the depth, the Lakers team was probably the deepest team. You know what I'm saying? Like,
however you want to evaluate this, it could be depth, it could be star power, it could be experience.
Lakers team, experience and depth.
Start from the top.
Experience and depth is Lakers team. Experience and depth is Lakers team. Number one.
So your 2020 Lakers team, the best team to win a title, last 6 champions.
Yeah, there's that the experience, the depth, the talent, everything across the board. We were just too good to where Frank had a tough job of trying to micromanage minutes. Like managing minutes was crazy. We didn't even have Avery Bradley come in the bubble with us. You know what I'm saying? So we were just too deep, honestly. So the Lakers team, then I'm gonna go with Toronto. Then probably Denver, and then Boston, Golden State, Milwaukee. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah,
I think that's fair. A lot of people hate on that Raptors team because you guys beat injured Warriors team. But if you again just look at how the Celtics won, 3 and D players with depth, everybody could shoot, everybody could play defense. Look at that Raptors team, same construction, just more deep. So, listen, man, it has
more depth. We have more depth. It was crazy. We had a good team, but I said no disrespect to the Warriors and Milwaukee. They were very good. I think Boston and Denver were kind of similar in depth. I think Denver, I gave them the edge because they had 2 off the bench that were really good with Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. I think Boston had Pritchard sometimes Hauser. You know what I'm saying? Depending on if Porzingis in the lineup or not. Horford was really good. So I think they're kind of even in depth. But I just think they were more, like, I would say more stable to me, more dominant, if that makes sense. I feel like there's times where Boston looked shaky against teams they shouldn't have looked shaky against.
Yeah, I would also. I actually am curious too, because you said now that you mentioned you think that Lakers team was the best team that has won a title over the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Recently, you did a podcast. I think it was with Laker Nation. Trevor Lane, the host over there, he does a great job. I remember listening.
Yeah, Trevor Lane. Yeah,
when I was out there in LA, he does a tremendous job covering the Lakers. I listened to some of it, but now I'm just curious because obviously when you won the title, I want to say you're like Jason Tatum, but you won a title in 2020. And I'm sure it felt great, but there was still a saltiness behind it, right? Let's just keep it real, because the Lakers
always has something to say. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The bubble was a Mickey Mouse championship. You know, there's always something.
Yeah, there was
in Toronto. Everybody was hurt. You know what I'm saying? There's always something.
Yeah.
So the only time I did win it was nothing was when we went to San Antonio. That's the only time.
but I'm referring to in 2020, you win the title, and that should just be it. That should just be all. But for you personally, as great as winning a title might have been, you still had to deal with the backlash of missing the shot in Game 5.
Missing the shot
in Game 5. And the immediate aftermath, there are some Lakers fans who are thankful that you were helping them with the chip, and there were some Laker fans who were just like, can't believe you missed the shot.
Yeah, we lost in the Mamba jerseys.
Yeah.
Like, you let us lose in the Kobe jerseys. You could have won the game in 5. And it's like, okay. We could have. We didn't. We still won.
But we still won.
Yeah.
But Danny, as time has gone on now, I have seen more and I read some of the. I tried not to read comments. It's a toxic place, but I actually read some of the comments on the pod that you did, and I see a lot of people. Damn, I miss Danny Green. Yo, he was
appreciative now. A little more apprecitive.
More appreciative now.
When you start losing every year after that, it's like, damn, we actually had a really good team. You realize a lot of things are good when it's gone. You know what I'm saying? So we had a really good team. Not just saying because I was on it, but we had a really good team even after they had a good team. And I think AD's injuries was hurt them a lot. Even when they got Schroeder, they wanted to bring Braun off the ball more. But KCP, Kuz, AC, they were great. They made that trade. Even they picked up Trez. They made a trade to get Russ. They let all those guys go. You had some 3-and-D guys, which I thought made it better for AD and Braun to have space. You got Russ. I think that's one of the things, not disrespect to Russ, I just don't think it was a great fit. So, ultimately they traded away a lot of guys and let a lot of guys go. They didn't want to pay AC. They kept Taylor, which I thought he was really good too. But ultimately he needed to be effective. He needed the ball in his hand as well. He's a pick and roll guy. So I said, it's just sometimes it's not the fit, but they had great players, but you don't realize how good some of those guys were, how efficient or valuable they were until they're gone. So yeah, not just myself, but all those other guys. KCP, obviously he won a championship again after he left. He went to Denver and, he's doing pretty good for himself.
proved how valuable he is. And I think Brian Windhorst said on Tuesday during one of his appearances on ESPN that he expects KCP to opt out of his contract. So the Denver Nuggets could very well lose their best 3-and-D wing on their roster. So they might not be able to come back to
He's looking for more years. I mean, why would you not opt out, sign for more years, probably get a bigger deal? Like, I won a championship already. I'm going to find somewhere where I can do the same thing, but for longer years and get more money. Like, it's the contract, it's the business part of it. So they're going to have to go into the second. They paid MPJ, they paid Aaron Gordon. You're already pretty much high up in the aprons. So you have to probably extend more if you're trying to keep him home. So
it costs money to win championships, and that is the interesting thing. You don't know how much the ownership group is willing to go into that to win, and that's going to be the case potentially here for the Boston Celtics. At some point, the team is going to be too expensive. They're not going to even be able to bring back certain players, and maybe Jason Tatum will have more weight on his shoulders. But as it currently stands, Danny, Tatum and Brown, a relatively light load in comparison to what Luka Doncic had to do.
Way lighter load. And you got Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, Al Horford, Sam Hauser. Like, these guys, Peyton Pritchard, these ain't no slumps. You know what I'm saying? Like, these ain't no bums. These guys are very good, come off the bench and give you good minutes. There was times where their bench took over. You know what I'm saying? They went on the game, I think, where Dallas came back and made it a game. But they went on like a 7-9-0 run when they had Xavier Tillman in the game. Pritchard, Hauser, like, they all hitting shots, knocking down threes. It just got super hot. They were up by 20-30. I think it was game 3 in Dallas where those guys just took over. So when you have a team like that or a second unit like that where you don't have to rush your starters back, you can rest, man, the load is it's unbelievably light. And you have Drew Holiday playing defense for you, Derek White playing defense for you every night and setting the table. You know what I'm saying? So all I had to do is just, eat what's left over on the plate. And that they did that. They did the scoring. Jaylen Brown, I will say this, he did play amazing defense throughout he had his guard, his challenge, his primary person he was defending was Luka Doncic. And, he had to do that night and out and play both sides. That's probably the reason why he got voted for Finals MVP.
Yep. Real quick, Boston Celtics traveled to Miami on Tuesday afternoon. That is where they'll be partying till they come back to Boston on Friday, where they'll have their parade. Obviously, the two most popular places to celebrate an NBA championship, Las Vegas and Miami. My question, Danny, if there was a third city to be added, where did you go when you went in 2014? Where'd you go?
We just stayed in San Antonio. We didn't go nowhere.
Oh, have mercy.
We won at home and stayed there. So, yeah, I mean.
Hold on.
They didn't start doing that. So they started doing that. They started doing it when people won on the road. They didn't do it when you won at home. So you're on the road. That's why it's better to win on the road, because then you stop in a city before you go home. You don't usually leave home to go to another city and then come back. Yeah, that's a new thing. But, if there's a third city to choose, you already know what I'm choosing.
Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah. Understandable. Shout out to our friends in the six. All right, before we get out of here, we have to talk about the losers in this whole equation, the Dallas Mavericks. And as great as encouraging as it could be, Danny, and it has to be encouraging. Oh, you guys made it all the way to the NBA Finals. You put this roster together after the trade deadline, had a really good defense. You beat a really good Minnesota Timberwolves team. You took out the Clippers. You took out the Thunder, who were the number 1 overall seed. You got to feel encouraged. And yet you're in the Western Conference. And
it might not ever happen again. It might never
happen again. That's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing, Danny. Like, and I think Luka learned a lot during this playoff run. We saw him play at a very high level, and remember, coming into this year, he had gotten to really good shape. Remember, because he was playing in the World Basketball Games. Yeah, he was.
I don't know how they do it, man. Shout out to those guys that play year round. That shit's tough. Play in the summertime, play like 82 game season, like that's a lot on your body. At some point you got to give it up, bro.
And his usage rate too, it's nuts.
You better give that up at some point, because it's going to be hard to have a long-lasting career doing that all year-round basketball. So we used to play. So we had a lot of foreigners when I was in San Antonio. Tony, Boris, Tiago, Patty, like all those guys would go Manu, play with their respective countries. And I'm like, damn, like by the time we came in training camp, we let them just take off because like they got no break. It's hard as hell to do that, man. Like got to be a hell of a competitor. Give a lot of flowers to those guys. In great shape. It's too much mentally.
Yeah.
The mental fortitude you have to be able to be able to complete all year round those things. It's another level. So, I appreciate those guys for sure.
All right, Danny, before we get out of here, again, I think Luka Doncic, a great player. Obviously, he led all players in this NBA postseason in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. I just think it probably behooves them to get more ball movement in their offense and another
A guard.
A 3-and-D wing.
More 3-and-D wings, but I think they need another guard to like Luka, obviously his usage rate, but you got to find a way to lighten the load on their usage rate for both of them, right?
Yeah.
He is obviously watching and hearing what the media is saying about him, so he's learning. He's starting to play more defense when he needs to. He's starting to not complain to the refs, like he's learning. So I give him some flowers for that. He gets a lot of credit for that, but he's still said they putting too much on him to carry a lot of the load. Him and Kai, so they need another some 3-and-D guys to give him space, but also ultimately, a backup third point guard. Somebody else can
take somebody off the dribble.
A facilitator. You need a Derek White some way somehow that can just facilitate, set the table, bring the ball up. Sometimes you could just come up pick and roll and not have to bring the ball up too. So they need to find another one that can handle the ball like that.
That definitely help. Before we get out of here, Danny. Okay, so we've said it. There have been 6 champions in the past 6 years, all new teams.
Mm-hmm.
Pick another one, Danny. And obviously, we don't know how free agency is going to play out. Mm-hmm. But who is going to be the NBA champion next season? And I'm telling you, or asking you rather yet, you have to pick an all new team. And I already want to say the Knicks, but that's just I won't pick the Knicks because it's just y'all already know who I am. If I had to say the team most likely to win an NBA championship that's new, not a repeat championship over the past 6 years. And not
Minnesota
the Knicks.
Timberwolves. Minnesota Timberwolves is for me. That's what I got.
I think I'm going to have to go. I hate to say this because I want to say the Knicks. I think I'm going to have to go Philadelphia 76ers. They have – I'll tell you this. It is a travesty. It will be a travesty.
If they don't get Paul George, or they got to pick up somebody.
Not even that. If they're not in the Eastern Conference Finals next year, Danny, it's a travesty. You have Joel Embiid, you have Tyrese Maxey, and you have the most cap space available to you out of teams that are actually really good in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to do something. You should be able to have a roster that can also potentially sustain a Joel Embiid.
What if they get nobody? Everybody wants to go back to where they are, and they get nobody. They might get KCP, but what if they get nobody? Like they have 2 people on roster as of right now, so it's hard for me to pick that group. They are good. Those 2 guys are dangerous. But you still have to fill out the rest of the roster with some pieces that are pretty decent. We know that. It can't be 2 guys that win it all.
A lot of people are under pressure this summer. Maybe we should do the most under pressure list for our next episode.
For sure.
Person under the most pressure this NBA offseason, without a shadow of a doubt, is Daryl Morey.
There's some teams out there that's under pressure too.
But I don't think there's a person. I don't think there's a person.
The Lakers are under pressure. I feel like there's teams that we don't even think about that are under pressure.
But the Lakers
under pressure.
Under the LeBron era, the Lakers could still say we got a title. Yes, they're the Lakers. They're always under pressure. But Joel Embiid has still not made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. He's the only MVP in the history of the award to never make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. You got an All-Star. You got an All-Star in Maxey, you got an MVP in Joel Embiid, and you have all the cap space in the world. This is it. I can't think of anybody else who's under more pressure.
No, probably not. But there are teams that have pressure to make moves and make some things happen. That's even New Orleans, Memphis supposed to be up and coming. Like Miami, we see Miami does with Jimmy. Like there's teams. Who's bringing back who in New York, Indiana, Milwaukee? Doc and Milwaukee are under a lot of pressure, bro. He might be up there with Daryl Morey with that team. You just got Dame, and you have only a couple of years left to make this work, and you're supposed to win one now. They were 30-13 before the break, number 1 seed. You went damn near even after that, and lost in the first round.
Adrian Griffin.
So, hey, I think Milwaukee's under some pressure there, too.
Ime Udoka's under some pressure too, but that's another story for another
Houston
day.
got some times. Houston got some times.
Well, I'm also considering what he fumbled, but that's another story for another day. It's been quite the NBA regular and postseason right here on Inside the Green Room. When we come back later on with our next episode, sooner rather than later, it's time to talk about free agency. And something leads me to believe that free agency just might have more spice to it than the NBA Finals. Congratulations to the Celtics again. Hope y'all don't win another one. Sincerely said a Knicks fan.
Word. Read, rate, subscribe, review. Peace.